Gaming today feels different, and a lot of people can feel it, but no one can really explain why. Older games felt bigger, fuller, and honestly just more fun. Even when they had less powerful graphics and smaller budgets, you could buy a game once and get hundreds of hours out of it. You didn't need battle passes, constant updates, and the store begging you to spend some money. So what actually changed? Why did games from the PS2 and Xbox 360 era feel so packed with content, while modern games launch with the bare minimum and promise you to rest later behind a paywall? In this video, we're going to be breaking down how minimalism killed gaming. We're going to talk about how gaming went from complete experiences to live service ecosystems, how design philosophy moved from fun and replayability to player retention and monetization, and how older games like Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 and Halo 3 felt so packed and loaded with content right outside the box. Because the truth is this, the industry didn't just randomly get worse, the industry changed its entire philosophy, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Before we start though, please be sure to like the video and comment down below what your favorite Nintendo game is. And if you don't mind, just drop your boy a sub. Look, I know you don't give those out for free, so hopefully I can earn it through this video. Now let's hop into it. For anyone that doesn't know what minimalism is, let me break it down for you real quick. Minimalism is the design philosophy built around the idea that you should remove anything considered unnecessary and only keep essential elements. In theory, it's supposed to make things cleaner, easier to understand, and more streamlined. Now in mosquito brain logic, minimalism translates to this: less complexity, fewer features, and cleaner design. It sounds nice on paper, but in gaming, that's where things start to get a little bit questionable. Because when minimalism enters gaming, it often means cutting systems, simplifying menus, and removing features in the name of making the experience smooth. And yeah, sometimes that works, but other times it often feels like developers looked at a buffet of content and said, nah, let's serve these players a single chicken nugget and call it modern design. So the first thing we have to talk about is the main menus and user interface, because this might be one of the most obvious places where minimalism has ruined gaming. Back in the day when you booted up a game, a main menu wasn't just a main menu. It was part of the experience. It had personality, it had atmosphere. It literally set the tone for what you were about to play. You would load into a game and immediately feel the aesthetic and vibe of that world. Now when I open up some games, it feels like I booted up a PowerPoint presentation. Everything is so clean, flat, and straight to the point. No personality, no immersion. It's just press start, play the game. Let's take Call of Duty Black Ops for example. That game had one of the most memorable menus ever. When you load into that game, you're literally sitting in a torture chair playing as Alex Mason. You were surrounded by a wall of CRT TVs playing creepy footage, and the atmosphere felt eerie. The audio was unsettling. The whole thing immediately puts you in the mindset of the game's story. And if you remember, the menu wasn't even just static. You could look around and break free from the chair and walk around the room. You could even unlock a secret computer terminal, and doing that would give you an achievement. Like bro, imagine getting an achievement from the main menu. That's how creative games used to be. And I remember when I was younger, I would literally hesitate before pressing zombies, because the moment you press zombies, the entire atmosphere changed. The music shifted, the tone got darker. It genuinely felt intense. And I know some of y'all might say, oh, you was just a kid, but even as an adult, you can still feel how much they cared about the game. Now compare that to modern menus. If you look at more modern entries in the Call of Duty franchise like Cold War for example, the UI is literally just panels and tabs. Everything is just streamlined, minimalist, and designed to get you into online ranked as fast as possible. There's no mystery, no vibe, no personality. And this isn't just a Call of Duty thing either. Look back at Super Mario 64. Before the game even started, you could literally mess around with Mario's face using the controller. The title screen was goofy, interactive, and memorable. Something as simple as a title screen became iconic. Now look at Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Just text and buttons. Functional, yeah, sure, but memorable, no. And that's the point. Minimalism doesn't just simplify menus, it ruins the charm and creativity. Creativity that used to exist in the smallest parts of the game. Back then, booting up the game felt like I was loading into an adventure. Now it just feels like I'm logging into some random ass software. And when the very first thing that the player sees lacks personality, it becomes a lot harder for someone to build an emotional connection from the game from the start. You ever busted all over yourself before the video even got to the good part? No? Just me? Okay. Well, that's basically what minimalism has done to consoles. Because one of the biggest things people forgot is that the console used to be a part of the experience itself. Turning on your console used to feel like you were entering another world. There was build-up, there was atmosphere, there was personality. Now when I turn on my PS5, it feels like I'm turning on a Wi-Fi router. And yes, I understand this is subjective as hell, but a lot of the creative touches that made consoles so memorable have been stripped away, and they call it clean design. Take the Nintendo GameCube for for example. That console had 3 startup intros, and they weren't just random either. If you held Z on one controller, you would get a different intro. If you held Z on all 4 controllers, you would get a different intro. That's such a tiny detail, but it made the console feel so alive. It felt like there was little secrets in the hardware itself. Now let's compare that to the Nintendo Switch 2 startup. It's simple, quick, and just straight to the point. Functional, yeah, sure, but immersive, no. It's literally just logo, menu, game. PlayStation used to do the same thing. The PlayStation 2 had different startup sequences depending on what you were doing. If you had no disc inside, it gave you one startup. And if you put a disc inside, it gave you another startup. And if you put a PS1 game inside, it literally switched the startup to match the older console. Even the visuals in the PS2 startup were dynamic. The towers that you saw represented how many save files you had on your memory card. Like bro, a console startup that visually represents how many save files you have. If that's not creativity, I don't know what is. Now look at the PS5. Yes, it's clean as hell, but it's so simple and boring. Like it feels so empty. It honestly doesn't even feel like PlayStation. There's no mystery, no surprise, no hidden interactions. It's just PlayStation logo and then it goes straight to the UI. And that's the bigger point here. Minimalism didn't just simplify consoles. It removed the little creative touches that made the game feel magical even before you even launched the game. Back then, the experience started the minute you pressed the power button. Now the console just feels like a device whose only job is to get you to the store page faster. One of the biggest examples of how minimalism has ruined games is the number of game modes inside of a single game. Older games were designed around variety. Modern games are designed around one core gameplay loop. Back then, when you bought a game, it wasn't just play the main mode and that's it. Developers used to pack the game with different ways to experience the game so it never got stale. Take arcade mode for example. That used to be a standard feature in video games, especially fighting games like Tekken 5 and Mortal Kombat Deception. Arcade mode meant fighting through a ladder of enemies, usually ending with character-specific cutscenes or endings. Every fighter had their own story, so if you liked the game, you would replay it with multiple characters to see everyone's ending. Then you had survival or endless mode, which were all about testing how long you could last. That's what she said. Some of the most iconic versions of this was like the mercenaries in Resident Evil 4, or the original survival formula in Call of Duty World at War, with the Nazi zombies. And what made these game modes so powerful was the replayability. The gameplay loop was so simple. Survive waves, beat your high score, compete with friends. They didn't need constant updates, battle passes, or seasonal resets because the player skill itself created the replay value. And then you had challenge modes, which were basically gameplay puzzles. These used to force you to complete specific objectives, beat the enemy within a time limit, perform specific combos or techniques. Games like Batman Arkham City had entire challenge map systems. You had to master combat mechanics and try to perfect your score. And the beauty of this game mode, you were grinding for mastery, not cosmetics. On top of that, you also had party casual game modes, mini games inside of the game itself, or custom game modes with modifiers. One game could legitimately feel like 5 games at once. But in today's time, most of these modern games revolve around one game mode, usually something like multiplayer, casual, ranked, and some battle passes. And there are 2 big reasons this great shift happened. The first is the massive focus on online play. Developers realized that competitive multiplayer keeps players engaged longer, so they build games around that entire experience alone. And the second reason is because of this live service design. The whole goal of this isn't to give you a bunch of game modes at launch. It's literally designed to keep you playing the same game mode repeatedly, while new cosmetics, new updates, and seasons get added over time. Ironically, this ties back to minimalism, because instead of designing a game with tons of different experiences, the philosophy becomes focus on one core gameplay loop, remove everything else, and streamline the entire game around it. So instead of having 10 game modes, modern games give you 2 game modes and say, play this game or don't play it at all. Older games created engagement through variety and discovery. Modern games create engagement through competition, progression systems, and constant updates. And that's why modern games feel like they have less content, even when they technically might have just as many hours in terms of gameplay. Look, I know this video has been going on for a while, so if you're still here, I rock with you. Give me a high five through the screen. But since you're still here, let's wrap this video up with talking about one of the biggest things minimalism has took away from gaming: the feeling of actually earning and unlocking things. Older games always gave players something to chase. Unlockables weren't just extra content, they were motivations to keep playing. Take Super Smash Bros. Melee for example. That game was full of unlockable characters and content, but the way you unlock characters actually required you to do things in the game. Play enough matches, you unlock a new fighter. Beat classic mode, you unlock another fighter. Complete event challenges, you unlock stages. Like, I vividly remember my older brother telling my mom he doesn't want dinner because he was trying to unlock Mewtwo. That's how powerful unlockables used to be. The reward itself used to give you motivation to keep playing. Modern games often skip that entire process. Either the full roster is already available, or the new characters are just sold as DLC. Older games tied rewards to skill and achievement. Beat the hardest difficulty, you unlock a secret character. Complete survival mode, you unlock new costumes. Achieve S rank, you unlock special content. Beating a higher difficulty didn't give you a trophy or some XP, it unlocked entirely new gameplay options and modes. That game literally rewarded you for getting better. Now compare that to most modern progression systems. Everything is tied to XP, battle pass tiers, time played, no skill at all, just how long did you stay logged in on our game. Another thing older games did amazingly well was hidden secrets. Back then, there was things in games that you didn't even know existed. You had to read it in a gaming magazine. You probably had to find it out through your friend, or you just simply discovered it yourself. Gaming used to feel like a treasure hunt. I remember going over my friend's house and he had characters in Budokai 3 I'd never seen. Like, when I first beat that game, I did not know Kid Goku was a part of the game. When I seen that, I immediately wanted to go home and grind until I unlocked that character too. The sense of discovery and mystery made games feel bigger than what they actually were. Now, to be fair, that part of the magic is gone simply because the internet is massive now. There's no such thing as secrets, so developers really can't hide things the same way anymore. But even with that reality, skill-based unlockables still extended games' lifespan. A great example of this is Xenoverse 2. Yes, it has a ton of DLC, but it still has a lot of things that you can earn through gameplay, challenges, and offline progression. That game is a perfect example of balance between modern monetization and traditional unlockables, which leads me to the reason unlockables disappeared: monetization. Because a lot of the things that used to be unlockables are now DLC characters, cosmetic purchases, battle pass rewards. You ever play a sequel where the character was free in the first game, but in the second game they tried to sell it back to you as DLC? So to wrap everything up, minimalism isn't always a bad thing. Clean design can be good. Simplicity can make games easier to jump into. But when that philosophy goes too far, it starts removing the personality, the variety, and the discovery that made gaming feel special in the first place. At the end of the day, gaming used to feel like opening up a mystery box full of surprises. Now, sometimes it feels like opening up a menu screen with a store tab. But hey man, if you made it this far, you a real one. I appreciate you a lot. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I mean, you just watched the whole video, like, why not subscribe? And let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I'm open for any discussion. Do you think minimalism has low-key helped gaming, or do you think it just ruined it completely? I think y'all know what side I'm on.